listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Lawrence. Thank you. And good morning, listeners. 331-9 listeners and viewers. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We'd love to hear from you. This is the Wednesday morning edition of the Kingston Community Radio Show. And again, it is a talk radio show, call-in radio show. We are broadcasting live from our studios right here at 16 Lucas Avenue in Kingston, New York on this bright and crisp
27
November
degrees
morning
here in the studio.
I had 26 when I left Sorgady's, 27.
You know, if I got the heat on, then it's cold, because I like the cold.
Yes, you do like the cold. So if the heat is on, that means winter is on our doorsteps, unfortunately. But we've had a nice fall, and then today is going to get up into the 50s and 60s tomorrow, and then it tumbles down again.
Yeah, looking at the weather, it looks like we're going to get some rain tomorrow, but
late in the day, overnight, so I think the majority of the day is going to be dry.
64 tomorrow. You can't beat that for a week before Thanksgiving.
No.
That doesn't happen a lot. So, and I know it's going to dip off. It looks Friday 46, Saturday 45, but Sunday 52. It looks like I'll be blowing leaves again, Mom, on Sunday. So the Giants are off. Monday we're going to get some rain. It looks like, but for as far
That's
as
right.
November
The Giants
goes,
got a Monday night game this week, right?
Yeah, they're at the Bucks. I want the Giants to win, but at this point, I want them to get rid of Gettleman. So if they end up winning, what are we, 3-7? We won 3 games, right? We haven't won 4.
We 3-6.
We won 2 at home and 1 on the road. We beat the Saints on the road.
Yes,
and then we beat the Panthers and the Raiders. The Raiders was the other game we won.
So we're 3.
So we're 3-7.
3-7 or 3-6?
No, 3-7, and then we have our bye. Yeah, we played.
That's right. So we got a bye.
And then we got the Bucks. And then they play You're going to go to the Eagles game. That's the game I traded to get all the KCR Raiders game. So I'm not going to the Eagles game.
No, I'm not either. I sold.
The last home game I'm going to is the Dallas game, only because I have a few friends that are Cowboy fans. Go figure. I promised them I'd bring them. So
John Stafford every year. He likes a 1:00 game, and he asks for the Eagles, and you never know what the weather's going to be like.
Every year we donate through Nina. Nina's on the board of directors with the Boys and Girls Club. This year, every year we've been doing it. We donate a pack of tickets to the Boys and Girls Club auction that they do.
Uh-huh.
And guess who wins them this year? Larry Circusano. So he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, I won your tickets." I'm like, "Great." So I just transferred him right to his phone. It was easy. I didn't have to go meet him and give him the tickets. I just transferred him over the phone. That part of the Giants thing is easy, transferring the tickets. But getting into the stadium, I haven't been able to use my phone since week 2. or since the second home game. I've had to walk up to every game and get a paper ticket because my barcode is not moving back and forth. It just stops in the middle. So I walk up to the will call desk. I'm actually fine with it because I actually collect the tickets, and this year was the first year. Well, last year we didn't go, but I've been collecting paper tickets since like the middle of the 90s.
Yeah.
So I have a big book of all the games that I went to. You know, I could tell you about every game I went to, and so this year I was able to get tickets, the Panthers game, the Raiders game, and then the Rams game, the game that they.
That's strange that you're having that problem, but of course you
the people that I like. Okay, so like Tony and Leanne, I transferred their tickets to their phone. They had barcodes. Me and Cam didn't have a barcode. Dwayne and Nina couldn't get a barcode, and then the other because I had 10 tickets to the Raiders game. The 6 of us got 6 people got barcodes, 4 of us didn't. Me and Cam and Dwayne and Nina couldn't get barcodes. The other 6 people could.
That's strange.
So I just, it's no big deal. Will call opens up at 11 o'clock. I just walked up there with a beer, went and got the tickets, walked back. And hey, I don't the thing about getting the paper ticket, I don't have to bring my phone in the game.
Yeah.
See, I never brought my phone in the game up until this year because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it, sit on it, break it. Phones are expensive now. I don't want to break my phone, so I don't mind walking up there. So I got 2 more games to go to. One, I'm going to Miami in a couple weeks. Me and Cam had bought tickets to that in July. A friend of ours lives in Fort Lauderdale, so he had bought tickets for us to go to the game. And then I'm going to go to the Dallas game, and that's it. I'm done with it. I've had enough. And it's going to be cold, so.
Yeah, well, that's it. You just
Tony Morrow just texted me. The Giants are 3-6.
I thought they were 3-6.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, yeah, they had a bye week last week. It was week 10, so. But I don't want them to win a bunch of more games, so I don't want them to keep Gettleman. I don't want them to make the same mistakes that they have in the previous years. They went and gave Golladay all this money this year. He's played 2 games. We could have had an offensive lineman to help Daniel Jones. So, Anyway,
it certainly has been a long, frustrating stretch. Well, with football overall in New York, and of course, when I say in New York, I realize Buffalo is in New York, but that's like a different world from us here.
It is. I'm talking like 300 miles away.
Yeah, I'm talking, the metropolitan area teams. It's,
it's
a sorry state when you think about it between the Jets and the Giants.
The Giants haven't been sorry. The Jets have been sorry, unfortunately, for 50 years. At least not. I'm 48, 49. I haven't been around since the Jets. The Jets haven't won since they haven't even really been that good since I've been alive. So I feel for Jets fans, but they wake up every football season knowing that they're not going to be good. At least I've seen 4 Super Bowls in my lifetime.
Right.
Well, 5 actually. They lost one to the Ravens.
Yes.
But Yeah. How are you wearing shorts? It's 27 degrees out. You were crazy.
He wears shorts in January.
Shorts, yeah.
They're winter shorts.
They're winter shorts, yeah, with stockings. Morning, Fred.
Good morning, Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Saugerties.
How are we doing today?
We are doing. Don't ask
me. It's a little chilly out there.
Don't ask me what, but we're doing.
It's a little chilly out there.
You got your big coat on, and you got your winter shorts.
He's got big coat on, and he's got summer shorts on. You must have some good heated seats.
It was, I had to get a little ice off the windshield, but other than that, it was a good ride in. Not bad.
Nice and clear. Nice and clear, bright sky. And
the guy uptown yesterday was walking around emptying the meters. This was right when we got off the air yesterday, 9:15, 9:30. I'm going to get the mail. And I see the guy walking, and it was a little windy uptown yesterday. The guy's emptying the meters yesterday with shorts and a T-shirt on. I'm like, this guy's nuts. And, I like the cold. And I'm like, all right, he's got me beat. I mean,
that's some good blood right there.
Yeah, that is.
But you see it now in football games, though. There's guys out there, it's cold, and they're out there and, painted their chest and head, and that's all they're wearing in shorts. That's not me, though. I'm not that kind of fan.
No, and neither am I.
No.
At least not anymore. So last evening, the Rip Van Winkle Boy Scouts of America, they had their annual dinner, which obviously in recognition, which they did not do last year because of the pandemic and auction. And their Distinguished Citizens Award went to none other than Bob Circasano and Joe Bikert and his family for Timely Signs. Very, very nice evening. And of course, normally, and I've been a recipient quite a number of years ago of that Distinguished Citizens Award, and you give a small speech and, an acceptance speech, an appreciation, thank you speech. So Bob took the mic and he said, I had a speech prepared, and he brought out a piece of paper and he said, but I was talking to Steve Massey over in the other room, and he takes a chair for some reason, and he puts it outside on the other side of the microphone stand, and he goes, "This come off," and he takes the mic off, of course, and starts roaming around. Mm-hmm. And I say, what is the chair for? And he said, after I talked to Steve Massey, I'm not going to tell you everything that the Sawyer Motors Foundation and I and my brother do. I'm going to put a challenge out there. And I'm going to match the first. No, first he starts about Mount Trimount. Yes, Trimount. And he asked Steve how many kids were eligible to go. And there were 600 scouts that were eligible to go, and only 10% could afford to go. 10%. Yeah. 60 kids out of 600. So he said, after having that conversation with Steve, I am going to I'm going to do what I do good, do best. You're not going to hear me talk about what I've done, but what I'm going to do now. And he turned it into an auction.
Did he really?
And he said, I'm going to match the first $5,000. Well, after the $500 round that he asked for, and then somebody just threw out of the blue $1,000, and he was in a scout uniform, $1,000 donation. He blew the $5,000 right out of the water, right out of the bat, and within 2 minutes. The 2-minute warning hadn't even hit, and and then it continued with the $250 and the $100, and I don't know what he raised, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if, not including his $5, it was over $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him. So those will be scholarships for...
Those will be scholarships for scouts to go. And we're very, very fortunate, and I think they did this maybe by design. There are scouts that sit at certain tables. Well, 2 of them, they featured on a video recording of what they have done, what scouting had meant. And both of them, the young girl and the young youth who had, believe it or not, already completed his Eagle Scout project, the maturity level and the way they spoke and their mannerism. The one individual, he drank a lot of water. Mm-hmm. And every time the waiter or waitress came over to fill the glass, thank you. And when we got done watching the video screen, the PowerPoint presentation, I just said to the young female youth, I said, that is so awesome. Yeah, well, nice thank you very much. And while I was playing, she had the napkin up to her.
That's great.
Thinking she was going to botch it. But what a great evening, and to have that back. And, of course, it was at Diamond Mills. And, Tom Struzzeri and Brianna and that whole crew there, they just do an awesome, awesome job. And, it really is amazing. I've always meant to ask Brianna, who is responsible for training the number of youth that they have working there? Because there were so many I didn't even recognize. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are high school students, maybe not all from Saugerties, maybe Kingston, maybe Catskill, but everything was like clockwork. Everything just...
happened the way you'd expect.
Yeah. And, you hear these horror stories where people are closing down. John Barisi with Pizza Star and Starway Cafe, shutting down. And yet, the number of staff that he had working and everything was just like clockwork. Food was good. Food was hot. So it was a great evening. And hats off to the Boy Scouts of America, Rip Van Winkle Council Boy Scouts of America, and of course, for many years, Ray Braun was the head honcho of that. Did
he come?
No, I thought he was gonna because I was looking forward to one of his woo-hoos.
Yeah, he had a good disposition. I think he's in Pennsylvania though.
Is he?
Yeah, I think he moved from the area. But he was at over the summer. I ran into him. There was an Eagle Scout that he was involved with who made Eagle Scout, and he came up for that celebration when he got earned his badge. So it was nice. It was good to see him. I think he did a couple of those woohoos.
Yeah.
And, But Greg, I totally missed that. I didn't know it was last night.
Yes, it was. Yeah. And 2 of the scouts had saved another person's life.
Oh, wow.
One, his brother, who was choking on a sandwich, and he got up and he got taught through the scouting the Heimlich maneuver, and was able to. And he said, and after I did the Heimlich maneuver, the sandwich, he spit it out onto his mouth onto the floor, and my dog ate it.
That's a great story.
And that just brought a roar through the whole place. They had a real nice crowd.
Good.
And then the other one was up at a lake up in the North Country, and they were out, I guess, tubing off a boat, and his buddy fell off the boat, and part of the propeller in the boat hit him, and this other scout rescued him.
Was there bleeding? I'm imagining it was bleeding.
I imagine there was, because he kept reference how they were waiting for the paramedics to arrive, and while he was waiting for the paramedics, he did this, he did that. But, to hear these stories of our youth, and then, so many times youth get a bad rap because of a very, very small percentage. I'm the same way. I always like to tout, which I'm doing now, the youth, because so many times, unfortunately, and we've had a 4-6 week stretch of a lot of vandalism with youth that, as a result of our security cameras, have been and good police work, have been apprehended. So and that's kind of a black mark on youth, but it's a small percentage.
It's a really small,
very, very small percentage.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
And I always look forward to that event, and then also the steak and burger event.
Yep, for Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah,
that's a fun night too.
That's always a fun night, and you get to sit with there's usually 4 adults at the table and 4 members from the Boys and Girls Club, and of course they eat steak and the adults eat burgers, which is perfectly fine by me because I'm not a big steak person. But anyway,
I don't know. I looked with some envy at those steaks a couple times.
Yeah.
Even once I had to cut it for the young person.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I'm sitting there going, boy, this is a lot better than my burger. But it's a great night, too. Well, good for Bob. Congratulations. Was that the second time he got that?
No.
I don't. Once in lifetime.
Yeah, I don't think you can win it two different times.
Okay, good for them. It's really it's a nice honor and well deserved. And we're talking about it, but our experience with Eagle Scouts, oh my God, our complex and town facilities have benefited in so many ways from young folks who really took on some pretty tough scouting projects, and they pulled it off.
I kind of lost count, but I bet you at least over the years 15, maybe 18, maybe it's more projects that were done by Eagle Scouts.
Yeah, they're racing through my head. Canton alone, the whole trail system was a scout project.
Yeah, it was 4 Eagle Scout projects out of that.
Yeah. And terrific. So that was great. The most recent rounds of significant improvements to J.C. Field were initiated by Eagle Scouts.
Mm-hmm. Sidewalk at Town Hall.
Town Hall, yep. And
Animal Shelter.
A couple of projects.
We could go on and on.
The most recent one was they repaired the septic system, which, wow, just have the technical skill to do that. It was pretty, Caleb did that. He did a great job. So, yeah, good stuff.
So it's good to see scouting is obviously alive and well, and but I just thought that was that kind of blew my mind, where there were 600 scouts that were eligible to go, wanted to go, and only 10% could afford.
Well, next summer, more can go.
Yes,
now.
a lot more will be able to.
A creative way to use his time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
for him.
And boy, he just took right over.
Well, him and Ray really carved out a niche for that.
Yes.
Look what they did here with the Happy Christmas Fund.
And I couldn't figure out when he grabbed the microphone off the stand, he put the chair out front and he goes, "No, I'm going to do what I do best." And then he started to elaborate about the conversation with Steve Massey and saying, "Where is he going with this?"
Did anyone end up sitting in the chair though?
No.
So they just sat there.
The chair sat there the whole time, and then when the MC came back up to the podium, he took the chair, and put it put it back where it was. So I don't know if that was some kind of symbolic. I don't know. That was a great evening.
It's a good evening. You got to give it to him. I've seen him auction $100 bills for $500 more than once.
Oh yeah. And then the challenge he throws out to get people to donate money with the ice cream truck, quite a.
There too, we talked about it because he called in last week, and what a creative way to really have a good time, celebrate a passion of theirs with cars, and especially older cars, and really make a pretty special experience to things that are kind of, those after school activities where he shows up with the truck. Those happen every year, and they kind of, with the ice cream truck showing up, it just gives a brand new feeling and life to it, and pretty special.
That day when he showed up by the Lions Playground, I just thought it was a bunch of kids.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the Woodstock Day School, or one of the private schools, having their graduating class get-together after school had ended.
Yeah, pretty neat.
And how he found out about that, and there he pulled up, and there were 24. Then, of course, there were kids in the playground. They all came over. And
It's like a bottomless pit, though. It doesn't seem to run out. It just keeps coming out of that little truck.
Yeah.
So it's great. Really fun. Good. Glad you had a good time last night. I feel left out because I didn't know. I don't know how I got overlooked.
You know something? They sent out a save-the-date email with no information about purchasing tickets. I had to call. I had to finally call. And this was in less than a week. I think I made the call on Friday.
Really?
For it. Yeah. So unless, for some reason I didn't, because I get all the emails from the council, I got the save the date one. But to save the date, normally you send the save the date out a month, 2 months in advance. This was 1 week. It was the Tuesday prior to yesterday. But they obviously got the word out somehow, because there was a very, very good crowd.
Pretty close to sold out, you think?
Yeah, I would say maybe, certainly more than 3/4 capacity.
All right, cool. Good, I'm glad. Sounds like a great night. Fun.
So we got a couple of announcements. We want to get them out of the way?
Yeah, we can start. I have... Where is this one? Fall concert, dinner, and dance. Sunday, November 21st, 2021. There will be hors d'oeuvres at noon, a concert at 1 p.m., followed by Kassler Ripken smoked pork dinner, dance music by Gregory and the Bro House Band. Reservations are strongly recommended by November 13th, but if you're still interested, please call. Contact Alana at 845-339-5969 or Hildegard at 845-757-5135. You can leave a message at the hall at 845-338-3763. This will be at the Manticore Hall on 37 Greenkill Avenue in Kingston. They'll be asking for proof of vaccination upon entry. Masks will be required. The event will cost $40 per person. If you want to just do the hors d'oeuvres in the concert, it'll be $20 per person. Or you could split it and just go for the dance and the dessert, and that would also be $20 per person. So there are a limited number of takeout dinners available at $25 each. To make a reservation for that, call the same numbers. And pickups will be from 4 o'clock till 4:30 only. No walk-ins, and they accept cash or checks. There's more information on the Kingston Manticore, Damacore.org site, too. So we put a lot out there, and if you're interested, take a look.
That's an annual event that they do.
Yeah, good to see that one coming back, too.
Yep. And everyone's invited to Wreaths Across America, Sorgety's VFW Post 5034, sponsoring a bus trip to Saratoga National Cemetery. Remember the fallen, honor those who serve. Teach our children the value of freedom by placing wreaths on the grave sites. Saturday, December the 18th, $15 a person. And the bus leaves from the Greco Memorial Senior Center at 10 a.m., returns approximately 5 p.m. They'll have a cash lunch stop. And to purchase additional wreaths, or if you just want to purchase wreaths, you're unable to make the trip up to Saratoga National Cemetery, you may, $15 each. And the contact person, another individual who's involved with so much, is Bob Howe. Nice shout out to Bob Howe, 845-246-8255. 8510. Don't say I should have, say I did. So again, that's Wreaths Across America. Their annual trip to Saratoga National Cemetery, Saturday, December 18th, 2021. Bob Howe's the contact person. You need more information, 845-246-8510.
And we have one more from the Kingston Uptown Business Association, Cuba. They're doing their annual Snowflake Festival. It'll be Friday, December 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. in Uptown Kingston. The raffle will close on November 15th for kids under 12. Winners must pick up a bike at the festival. Helmets and locks will be provided by Bike Friendly Kingston. And the sponsors this year are Catskill Hudson Bank, Berardi Real Estate, and BHHS Hudson Valley Properties. So that's a fun event too. And then we have a special meeting tomorrow night. The towns of the Lower Esopus and the municipalities, so it'll be the city of Kingston as well, are meeting with the DEP to host a public forum. The DEP is going to make a presentation work that they are doing at the reservoir and on the aqueducts that bring the water to New York City. They'll be there to give this presentation and answer some questions. I think it's an important conversation. We've been fighting, trying to resolve this turbidity issues for a pretty long time now, and some of the work they're doing will be helpful, but I think it will be helpful for anyone who has a concern about the water quality in the creek, especially on the Lower Esopus below the dam. If you come, this is a great opportunity to get firsthand information and develop a better understanding of the operations of the reservoir and the improvements that are happening. So that will be tomorrow night beginning at 6. There'll be representatives from Hurley, Marbletown, Saugerties, Kingston, Ulster, and Village of Saugerties, and members from the DEP who will host the meeting and make the presentation. And for folks who may not be able to get there, you can go online to the Town of Saugerties website. There's a link that you can do it remotely from. So I think it'll be, we're excited that they're coming, and I think it'll be helpful to get a better understanding of what's going on. And there's a really interesting component to this because, the reservoir is over 100 years old, and those planners way back then knew the quality of the water that we have here in the Catskills, and that's the water we drink too. And but they also knew the problems that they would be incurring with turbidity because of the colloidal clays and their tendency to not settle out in water because they're very fine particles. And knowing that, they designed the reservoir with two basins, the West Basin and the East Basin. And the West Basin was designed to capture that turbidity, give it an opportunity to settle out, and then the water from the East Basin is what would be distributed to New York City. Weather patterns have changed, that we all know, and the capacity of that planning to still prevent those turbid waters is being challenged. Also, there's practices that the DEP is no longer, there's a very narrow window where they're allowed to do it. They used to use alum in the reservoirs across the river, and the alum would make the particles bond to each other and make larger particles that would sink to the bottom of the reservoir. But the accumulation of alum on the bottom of the reservoirs in, I think it's not Kensico, the ones on Taconic.
One's on Taconic.
Yeah, as you're driving down to Taconic, when you get right in Putnam County, there's two reservoirs.
Oh,
so that reservoir started to have an environmental impact from the persistent use of alum over decades. So the DEC told them that they want them to find alternatives to that practice, which to a degree led to using the Esopus Creek as a dump to get rid of turbid water from the West Basin. And in addition to that, 20 years ago or so, when there was heavy rains that caused catastrophic flooding along the Lower Esopus communities, especially in the town of Ulster and parts of the town of Saugerties, where property damage was very apparent, they, through the partnership with the DEC, we came up with a release protocol and invited the DEP to participate in flood mitigation. And as a result of that, the release protocol creates voids in the reservoir's capacity that are designed to capture storm events. So those storm events won't flood the lower Esopus area. The combination of the two has solved problems, but it's created new ones. The turbid releases are a very clear and apparent problem, and obviously in Saugerties we see the visual impact of that every day. And we have a number of residents who live across the creek, and their ability to enjoy that waterway has been compromised, and its economic ability has been compromised by it. So in the most recent round of review of the protocol, we've made that point, and we're hoping that we're going to get some relief from the DEC on how that's done. So it's done in a way that will mitigate those turbid dumps in a more proactive way. And DEP is willing to come tomorrow night, and speak to us, help us to understand what they're doing, share their perspective, share their mandate, because ultimately their mandate is to provide clean drinking water to the residents of New York City and a number of Hudson Valley communities that get their drinking water from them. And they care about the creek, but that's not their primary mandate. So we want to really, there's a lot of work to be done. There needs to be a study that's conclusive to tell us what the impacts are and what the best practices might look like. There's a release protocol that says they could dump for a certain number of days, and then they have to give us a quote clean water flush. We don't know the effectiveness of that. My observation has been that when the water's running high, those colloidal clays stick to the rocks, and when they do that flush, if the water had receded quite a bit, the flush never cleans those rocks, so they'll see the chalky red clay stuck to the tops. And it has a lasting impact in my belief. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Obviously, you've done your homework on this. You're very knowledgeable on this.
It's a challenge. We have, and you see it. One of the the artist Townsend painted Barclays Pond by the Red Bridge.
Yep.
And they did that for a reason, because it's very picturesque and it's beautiful. And when it's brown and muddy for extended periods of time, like we experienced last winter, that has a consequence too. It doesn't make us feel as good about our community as we should. Right. And for the folks that live there, and that was a destination for ice fishermen for decades. It was a destination for bass fishermen in the summertime. And we have a number of challenges. Mary Murphy and I and our boards have worked really hard to try to get some control over the invasive species problem. And we've improved it from a perspective of people. I don't think we fully understand if we've had a positive impact on habitat yet or not. But I see Lauren Lynn's looking at us, right?
We are at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back for the next hour with Chief Tinty from the city of Kingston at 8:30. We've got Senator Michelle Hinchy joining us virtually. Take it.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
This is Greg Chorvis, and once again, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund is asking you to help the needy this holiday season. For the last 50 years, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund has helped less fortunate families have a happier holiday. Look for our collection boxes at the local branches of the Ulster Federal Credit Union, Rondout Savings Bank, the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, Ulster Savings Bank, and at the Kiwanis Ice Arena in Saugerties. Thank you very much, and have a happy and Merry Christmas.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Screening exams for breast, lung, or colorectal cancers are necessary to detect and treat disease at its earliest, most curable stage. But you may have some concerns and questions. Answer your questions and ease your fears by visiting radiologyinfo.org. In addition to information on screening and wellness, you'll find more than 200 descriptions of radiologic exams, procedures, and treatments to help you prepare. Get informed and be prepared. Visit radiologyinfo.org, produced by the Radiological Society of North America and the American College of Radiology.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by the First Savings Bank in Ulster County that still remains local to this day. Ulster Savings Bank, a community bank that's invested in local business, invested in community, invested in you. Ulster Savings Bank, your one-stop resource for everything local. Locations throughout the Hudson Valley and online at ulstersavings.com. Member FDIC.
I know. Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, viewers and listeners. 331-9255 is our call-in number. And for the next hour, we have the ever flamboyant Chief Egidio Tinti from the city of Kingston, Fred Costello, supervisor from the town of Saugerties. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I apologize. I'm preparing my coffee here.
And for those that maybe just was, as soon as the camera came up, no, Jid did come in through the door. He did not come up through the floor. He was in search of...
I heard you talking about the water, the DP. Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting. Yeah, and you know your stuff. You were rattling stuff all. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. That's all right. Well, that's part of your job, right? So that's good.
Mary Noble's been a great partner there, though, and he's well versed too, and learned a lot from him along the way, and his support and advocacy, along with Jim Quigley and others in the Lower Sopus communities, is what spawned this meeting. Because the DEP is fairly responsive to the community leaders.
Okay, good.
But hearing, for our residents to have the opportunity to hear directly from them, I think is infinitely better than us trying to consolidate what the DEP told us and present that to our residents.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not going to say it exactly the same way. We're not going to prioritize their perspective the exact same way. And we're not going to be able to answer the questions that residents come up with. So I think having them do right from the horse's mouth, this is going to be, I think, a really useful exercise for anybody who takes the time to participate. And I expect a fairly good turnout because the creek, especially for the lower Sopus communities, there's some disparity between how it impacts towns. Unfortunately, in Saugerties, some of the flooding issues have been mitigated because homes that were repeatedly flooded were torn down. So we've sort of taken care of that in a roundabout way. In Ulster, there's communities that live right on the creek that are still in threat of flooding, and there's consequences for that. So, for those homeowners, I think they care about the turbid water, but they really don't want their house to float away. Right. So their priority is a little bit different. For many of the folks in Saugerties, we care about flooding, but we're more concerned that every time we have friends over and they're looking out the window, they're looking at brown water. Yeah. So it's a little bit different in for Hurley and some of the other places where they have fairly active recreational opportunities. There's an impact there too. Right. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's going to be it's going to be an interesting. I'm looking forward to it because every time I meet with those folks, I can't take enough notes. So I learn something new every time we do it. And that whole network and system that brings water from, it collects it from the Cascade and brings it.
Amazing.
It's incredible.
It is. Considering it was engineered 100 years ago, amazing. Absolutely.
Amazing.
I'm telling you,
look at it in Walton because we'll build a shed in the backyard and feel really proud.
Right. Yeah.
And we're doing it with power tools. These guys did this whole thing with donkeys and mules. It's insane.
We're on the bike trail most of the summer. Our family always meets on the weekend, and we always do some biking or walking. And you look at the stonewall work, just the stonewall work that they did.
Yep.
Amazing, right? It really is unbelievable. It really is. And what a great thing to have around in our area. But I grew up in Olive, and we were right around the corner and traveled over it every day on the school bus to go down to Ora, and just amazing engineering, really, considering, back then they didn't have drones to do topography. Everything was done all walking through the woods and just, great. And it's
under the Hudson River.
And there's other reservoirs. It's a collection, right? It's just, amazing. So,
and I think it's notable, the Gilboa Dam, the water that leaves there, wants to go to the Schoharie Creek and around into the Mohawk River, and is diverted. And it comes our way, and it goes to Manhattan. It's really, it's a tremendous engineering achievement.
Yeah, my father enjoyed. They had there's a video out specifically about the Shokan Reservoir, and I don't remember the name of it now, but they actually sell it every so often up in Boyceville. They'll see it. But we got somebody on.
Yeah, we got Bill McKenna.
Oh, excellent.
Hey, Bill.
Good morning.
Hey, gentlemen. How are you guys all doing?
Good morning.
Oh, he couldn't get through on the line?
No, he said it was ringing, but it didn't go through.
Oh, because you know what? Lawrence isn't in there.
I was going to rat on him, but he's not in there.
So, this is appropriate. I called earlier. I just wanted to mention, and now that we have the chief there, last night the town board in Woodstock, we had to interview to replace an officer and maybe hire a part-time officer. And we interviewed 7 or 8 individuals. And boy, we had an incredibly difficult time trying to narrow down and come up with one. It's just such an outstanding slate of candidates. And, I guess things have simmered down a little bit over the last year or so. The law enforcement has just taken such a beating. And I'm proud of you guys that you stand fast, and, you've doubled down, and you're working harder to get even better at it.
Yeah.
And
it certainly has been a challenge. We just hired 9.
Did you?
One bulk hiring, 9 of them. They still have to go through we've offered them conditional employment. They're all full-time positions only, but the conditional employment, they have to complete their polygraph, their medical, and their psychological exams. And now the state, as of October, has mandated psychological testing. Before that was an option in doing the backgrounds. And that to me was always very difficult to understand. We have a civil service test. It's the same exam. I want to be a police officer, short of specific agencies like maybe the state police, but on a local level, I want to be a cop. You have to take a civil service exam to be a full-time police officer in the state between the ages of 19, really 20, and 35 years old. You can't have reached your 35th birthday. So you have to sit for the exam, and that's statewide. No matter where you sit, you're sitting on one exam, same questions across the state. It's held once every maybe 2 years, 4 years, whatever it might be. But after that, there's a physical fitness component that has to be met. As long as they pass that, then the agency jurisdiction does a background investigation. That's not really specified anywhere. Like, what does that consist of? So, you can't be convicted of a felony. You can be arrested for a felony. You can't be convicted of a felony to be a police officer in New York. But there are agencies that don't do polygraph, that don't do psychological testing. Now they've mandated they have to. There's agencies that don't do, they have to do a medical. I should correct myself. But that's post-offer. So we've had candidates that have failed conditional employment but are currently police officers somewhere else.
Because they don't take the measures that you take.
Well, and again, I'm not saying that we're better, right? I mean, for us, we look at it, I've always looked at it as a 25-year investment in someone, right? They're not coming on, making widgets and leaving when they find a better paying job. There's been high turnover. That has always existed. I know Saugerties went through it. And there's always, We're all friends, but we're all competing for that same resource, right? We're looking for the best cop out there.
Same small pool.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And in our community meetings, the state police were there, and they said the same thing. You said it's all one law enforcement pie, and we're all looking for that one slice. And the candidates, maybe and we've had people join Kingston and then leave for the state police. We've had people join Kingston or come from an agency and consider Kingston, pass the background, I say pass, and then say, you know what, I want to stay local to my jurisdiction, to where I live. In some cases, Ellenville. So.
A couple of years ago, our chief, he was getting pretty upset because we would hire a young person to be a part-timer. They would, go through our training, give us a year or two, and then they were off to the sheriff's department. I think we lost 5 or 6 in a row. And my attitude was, I wasn't, it was a little disappointing, but at the same time, I felt we were training good officers and sending them out to serve the bigger community. So it in that respect, it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, but now, Bill, let's take the other side of the coin. What happens when that same officer leaves the county, goes down to Westchester, where obviously the pay is much higher, all right, becomes an officer down there? Doesn't that annoy you a little bit?
Well, I didn't say it didn't annoy me a little bit. Yes, and that would too. But, at the same time, they're bringing the great police skills that we train our officers with up here in Ulster County out to the rest of the world.
Yeah,
it's an optimistic perspective.
But there's an investment, right? I mean, part of it is there is a state statute that allows reimbursement. So if I hire someone, and out of the 9 candidates, 6 were current, either full or part-time police officers somewhere else. The other 3 have to attend the police academy. So in their case, if the city of Kingston were to pay them to attend the academy, which we're going to have to do, if they leave our agency within 3 years, they or the new agency owes the city of Kingston the cost of training.
That's a good clause to have in there.
It is, because that's
kind of a gentleman's agreement that nobody really invokes here.
Well, there's certain agencies that do. I don't want to say them over the air, but there's certain that do say, wait a minute, you're grabbing our officer 2 years on, you owe us money. And here's the rub. The ones south of us, Putnam, Westchester, they pay it.
Yeah.
Because to them, it's still cheaper.
Matter, yeah.
Even if you're covering salary, they're like, your salary is half of what we're paying. It's still cheaper to send them to your place, So it's interesting. But today, a lot of factors, and if we were to kind of dissect it a little bit, one, pay is huge. Because unlike, I'll say, my generation that came on, we were about work, right? And then sometimes you'd give up the kid's birthday party to go to work if you had to. I can't get off the schedule, I got to work, right? And today, work-life and home balance is important to this new officer coming on. They are equally concerned about what they do at work as they do at home. I can say that wasn't the case. We were workaholics. I mean, it was just the job came first. That was always the case, right? And we would say when the bell rang, we went. That's not the case now. Today, their time off is more valuable to them than in some cases a financial aspect. Balance that now with the retirement. There's been changes in Tier 6 retirement. The final average salary, if you will, is not based upon overtime. It's based upon base pay. A lot of it is based on base pay. And although I don't have the exact formula, they're looking at that, right? The forward thinkers are looking, saying, well, if I work for Agency A down in Westchester, and I'm getting paid $150,000 a year, right out of the gate after my 20 or 25-year career, depending on the retirement plan, I've retired $75,000. I'm out. The highest paying agency in Ulster County, let's just say, is $90,000. I'm leaving at 45 for the rest of my life, right? So for them, being young, traveling an extra hour or hour and a half south, or maybe moving closer, there's a big influence.
Yeah,
you can't compete.
You can't compete.
So what you're looking for here, and I know our police commission is responsible for the actual hiring and the offer of employment, we're looking for local people. We're looking for ones that have roots in here. And, a lot of times there are those that come from other agencies. I know, Bill, we picked up 2 of yours recently, and they've worked out great.
I know.
There you go, and I got to tell you, they're excellent, both of them. Community-minded. I mean, and I'll give kudos to jurisdictions like yourselves because you are community-minded, community-based. That's the officer, and you mentioned the good training. You're absolutely right. They came to us, and that same mentality from a town, a large town, now is applying to a small city, and they still follow through. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten kudos on Van Valkenburg and Jocelyn Peter, and both of those officers have done an exceptional job representing Woodstock, ultimately wearing our uniform, but truly being community-minded officers, and that's what we're looking for today. The advent of the EO 203, right, from the governor, re-envisioning task force, re-envisioning policing, and we are not without mistakes, right? I've admitted before, listen, we're not perfect as law enforcement. We make mistakes. We're carrying emotions into these calls.
No one is perfect.
No one. But making a widget, a solid steel widget with 2 holes and maybe some taps in it to create this is an entirely different job than showing up to a house where the father just was enraged and beat up his wife and child. And now maybe, as an officer, you have an emotional trigger because that's enough to get you emotionally tied to this event. We're not robots. We can't turn it off. We may have had an incident in our lives that now snap us back in shape. And so we have to recognize that we may not be the best officer to handle that call. That may not be the case. But people keep saying defund the police, and I'm kind of diverting some of this discussion that way because, we had flyers disseminated door hangers in Kingston, and I understand what some of it is, right? They don't want the cops responding to a person with a mental illness. I get it. The cops don't want to respond to a call.
Chief, I'm tired of hearing that.
I know.
I have to tell you that I am so proud of my department, and I'm sure your department is every bit as good. But the help that a gentleman got here in Woodstock in the last 2 or 3 weeks from the police department has just been outstanding. And we're frustrated because we don't have places that we can send this individual to help them. That different agencies or groups. Short-staffed, underfunded, whatever, I don't know. But we have gone above and beyond, our department above and beyond in dealing with this. They couldn't have treated this person with more respect. So, we don't want cops. No, I want my police responding to that because they handle it and they do it well.
And there's training out there, right? Crisis intervention training that all agencies are participating. It's part of at least what has been suggested in Kingston, and we've been ahead of it. Most agencies have been ahead of it. But you're right. Today the cops are stepping up. That wasn't always, we would get there, and I say we, older cops, past, would say that's not our call, right? Somebody's screaming at the sun? Yeah, we don't respond to that. But we have no other mechanism. So the cops have to be trained to respond to that. But I want to put in perspective again that we're asked to do these things with a 5.5 month academy. Mm-hmm. Right? A 5.5 month academy that the state put together. You can get someone from high school, right? In Kingston, we require a high school diploma, HSC, whatever it might be. That's it. So now you take a high school graduate, you put them through 5.5 months of training, you give them 2 weeks of firearms, you go over use of force, all over the Article 35 defense stuff, and now you field train them for, in our case, 12 weeks, and you put them in a car, and now they show up. Maybe they're 20 years old, right? We just hired a 20-year-old, still living at home, no kids, no responsibility short of putting a uniform on and going to work, handling a call, and that call may be handled very differently than a 40-year-old is going to handle, or a 25-year veteran who's handled hundreds of these calls over his or her career. But people don't expect that. People want the same response. They want this cookie cutter. Well, why did he get off? Why wasn't he given a ticket? I can't tell you how many times my phone rings from neighbors going, well, he clearly got pulled over. I saw it. I was on my front porch. He wasn't given a ticket. The officer felt the ticket wasn't warranted. A warning was enough. You don't understand, Chief, this individual. Yeah.
But your job isn't to go out and punish people. It's to go out and keep people safe.
Yep.
And if you feel that issuing a warning is going to get the job done, God bless you.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that probably 9 out of 10 stops that Woodstock makes are a warning.
Yes,
or a
agreed.
check.
Yep.
No tickets.
Yep. Yeah, we encourage the traffic
budget
stops.
time, I cringe a little about that. But beyond that, I mean, I think that's great. That's the way it should be.
Yeah. No, I agree. The same thing. And I've always said to the officers, I don't want you to write in the tickets, but I want you making the stops. If you see a safety violation, stop the car. But there are individuals out there, there's activist group that say cops shouldn't be doing any of that. You know, if it's a moving violation, you know, inspection sticker or something, there should be no reason for that, right? And we're like, listen, these are the laws, right? And again, I know I'm a simplistic thinker, right? Raised by a whole older generation. Do good, you get rewarded. You do bad, you get punished. If your inspection sticker is expired, get a new one. Or get stopped. I don't know what to tell you, right? I don't understand why people are arguing, well, you can't afford it. You can afford the car, right? And I'm trying not to put myself in a position where people are like, well, we can barely make ends meet. And I try to be understanding of that. I do. But you shouldn't be driving the car if it's not potentially safe to drive that car. There's other avenues out there.
I think this is true for law enforcement from the lowest parts of it all the way up, is that we've kind of become victim to our success. You know, things chug along pretty well. Our society is relatively stable and relatively safe, but we're starting to take that for granted. Yeah. And some of the things that got us to where we are, respect for each other, respect for the laws, and understanding of them is eroding. And I don't know if...
I've never seen the level of disrespect on... So we're body cameras in Kingston, and highly recommend them. I tell the officers all the time, be courteous, be professional, and keep that camera on at all times. I know your conduct is going to be above where it needs to be professionally. The problem is it'll be called in question, always. And the only thing you have today is that video footage. That's the only thing you have today. Your word, it's not like it used to be, right? And part of it is deserved. We have individuals out there wearing a uniform that should never have passed a background investigation. Never, right? When an event occurs involving a police officer on or off duty, the first question I ask is, what's their training? What kind of background investigation they go through? Because I know for a fact there's officers that have not had psychological testing. We've taken back our conditional employment offer to individuals who have not passed psychological testing in Kingston. We said, hey, congratulations, you passed the PT, you passed the written, you did well. You get interviewed. The commission looks and says, I think they're a good candidate. But then they sit for the psychological, and the psychiatrist who reviews it looks and says, this person should not be a police officer. There's an issue here.
Measuring that character is really important, because you're going to be in difficult situations every time you go out there. And if you don't have the disposition to handle those and remain calm and not have tendencies towards aggressiveness, it could be catastrophic. Absolutely. And the liability with policing is enormous. As you're talking, I always think of Chief Barberia. You know, he was with Sorgeries for a little while, and I learned so much from him. And every time we met, somehow or another, it would get injected into the conversation. Is the hardest job for a police department is to police itself. And I get it now. It took a while, but I totally get it. He's right. You know, if you can't hold yourself up to a standard, there's no way you're going to be able to go out into the community and do it. And
it's difficult. It really is difficult today to find candidates that want to. It's difficult for a cop to get in a car anymore and say, okay, I'm going to put a smile on, I'm going to make a difference, because they'll go to parts of the community that want them there, not necessarily need them there. So we're always trying to get officers involved and most do, right? But there's those that are, for lack of a better term, gun shy. You know, they'll get out there because they get to a call that we are needed at. Someone in the community is in crisis. We go there, and some of the community members are like, get out of here. This is not your neighborhood. You don't belong here. What are you doing, right? We're still the good guys. I know people don't think that sometimes, but we still are. We're there, right? When there's gunfire, we're going in. And I understand that those individuals that have done the wrong thing should be punished. They absolutely should, but no different than the individuals doing the wrong thing in the community. the ones that are stealing, burglary, rape, all that stuff. They're the ones that should be punished, and the bad cops should be punished too. Right? The expression constantly I hear is, nobody hates a bad cop like a good cop. We just don't want them, right? They create a lot of problems. And and part of that is doing the background.
Yeah, that mud.
We politicians feel the same way, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're left holding the bag, right? As supervisors, at the end of the day.
I meant we don't like the bad politicians.
Yeah, because people are coming from a cynical place already. So, in the minute somebody did something bad, it doesn't just stay, that was a bad person. It's a reflection on the industry, and policing goes through that too.
Same thing. It's a uniform.
Yeah.
It's a uniform. And it's difficult. I mean, we're finding as a very diverse community, and I got to tell you, Bill, I'm proud of all of our agencies. I have to tell you, I'm proud of Kingston. I came up through the ranks. I started here. My career will end here. But at the end of the day, in Ulster County, we have an incredible law enforcement community. At any point, I can pick up the phone and call your chief, and he will answer. I shoot him a text. There's no issues, there's no egos, there's no anything. The only time there's anything back and forth is maybe if Chief Sinagra and I sit at the table together trying to get mic time, microphone time, right? Hair time.
That would be a good show.
Both you and the Woodstock Police Chief are out of luck.
I love you, Joe.
We've said that for years on this radio, though. The cooperation between the state police, the sheriffs, and all the individual departments is just phenomenal in this county.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And I think for us, as much as we look at the same candidates, and because for us, we've had a recent set of hires about a year ago, and the majority of them came out of Orange County, believe it or not. There were no local individuals on the list. So as per civil service, we're stuck hiring off that list. We can't do anything more. But, I know there's discussions about revamping statewide civil service so that maybe, individuals can choose or get points or get favoritism or something for being local, right? If you live in Ulster County, you get 5 points on 2 points on your test or whatever it might be, right? If you're going to serve it or those kind of things. But it's a challenge. It's a big challenge. But I'm glad to hear that you had good candidates. Excellent. That's great news.
The interesting thing, and this goes to some degree as to why we have such good cooperation. We were interviewing individuals who are part-timers with our department, and every one of them was a part-timer with at least one and maybe two other departments. So you've got them going back between Rosendale and Woodstock, and I know Kingston, you guys don't do part-timers, but, they have some connection, or maybe Saugerties and Shandake, and, they're going back and forth, and they're bringing back trainings from the different departments and theory from the different departments. It just makes us all stronger.
All right.
Hey,
Bill, we're going to cut you off.
Yeah, we're at the top of the hour, but I'll tell you what.
You're welcome to stay on.
Hey, Bill, you can call back on the regular line after the break, and we can continue the conversation.
Bill?
Oh, he must have hung up on us. Okay, hopefully you heard that. So Bill, if you're Supervisor McKenna, if you're listening, call back on the regular line. We'll pick up the conversation. Sorry I had to cut you short.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, I'm Ruth Quick from town of Ulster. I support Kingston Community Radio, and you should too.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Oh, that's good. Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, viewers and listeners who have been with us. Those just joining us, 331-9255 in the studio here. Joining us for another half hour is the police chief from the city of Kingston, Egidio Tinti, Supervisor Fred Costello from the town of Sorgetes.
Good morning.
And it is time for birthdays.
All right, well, happy birthday to Pat Schneider from the Cruz family and friends. All right, that's great. Happy birthday.
That's it?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, Pat Schneider, guess what? Congratulations. Happy birthday. You are the winner of that famous cow pie from Boyce Dairy Milk House. When you get the opportunity, get right down to Boyce Dairy Milk House, 62 O'Neill Street, Kingston, New York, and pick up that famous cow pie, which is courtesy of Boyce Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. Listeners, viewers, please continue to send those birthdays in. We'll got to have a little competition here. It's so easy to do. You can email to kcr921@gmail.com. You can postal mail to P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York, 12402. Once again, Pat Schneider, congratulations. Enjoy your cow pie. Happy birthday, and have yourself an awesome day.
Also share a birthday. It's Marjorie Block's birthday.
Oh, you didn't send Marjorie. Of all the people, you didn't send Marjorie Block.
She could have got a cow pie. But
I might swing by Boyce Dairy Milk House and pick her one up.
She deserves it. She's
does she ever? God bless her.
Hard worker and amazing volunteer, and does a lot of great work at the Historical Society and for
food truck festivals.
Wow, the list goes on and on. But we hope you have a great day. Happy birthday. And thank you for all that you do. Vinny tipped me off that it was your birthday today. And he was really excited and wrote some nice sentimental things. So enjoy your day.
Yes, Marge Block, enjoy your day. Happy birthday. So we are hoping that Bill McKenna calls back and joins us virtually because unfortunately I had to cut him off. All right. He said, I don't know, that's the first time I ever cut a supervisor off, I think. I cut Sinagra off, I don't know how many times. You're a little ways down on the list.
The hiring process is interesting.
That in itself has got to be a huge challenge for you and your team, because obviously I'm sure you have your others, certain supervisory staff that participate in that process.
We've done over 40 background investigations to get to these 9. 40. Now, our detectives do our own background investigation. So on top of their regular caseload, burglaries, robberies, and so on, they're still responsible for producing a background investigation. We only give them maybe 2 months, so they've got to go neighborhood canvas, they got to prepare a summary. There's a lot of work, right? Financial backgrounds and stuff, and a lot of times they they're just difficult to get done in the time frame we're giving them.
We've got Supervisor Bill McKenna from Woodstock back on, and sorry, Mr. Supervisor, I had to cut you off. That might have been the first.
I can't believe you cut me off. Have you ever cut anybody off?
Well, just stop and think about it. You're going to the record books. I think it's the first supervisor ever cut off.
I'm only giving you a hard time. You know, the problem is I watch you guys on the computer screen, and there's a lag, so I can't keep track of time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, 4 or 5. There's about a 5-second lag, right? If I remember,
It must be a little bit more than that, right?
You think?
I don't know.
It might be even longer because there's a couple of times here where I'm talking away, and all of a sudden you guys start laughing. It's from something I said or somebody said.
Well, that's got to be comical.
Yeah, it's like watching one of a Godzilla.
So I'm
movie
just
from the
wondering.
60s.
I'm just wondering if that is a problem, internet related, on your side or our side.
I think it's the processing, right? By the time because I see it happening, our police commission meetings, I'm responsible for putting them out there, are live streamed. And when I start the meeting and we're talking, there's about a 5 or 6 second delay from the actual meeting, the live meeting, and what's being put live stream on YouTube. 5 or 6 seconds. So when I shut off the meeting, when I close the meeting, okay, thank you, everybody, click, leave, it's still playing for about 5 or 6 seconds and then shuts off.
Interesting.
Yeah, so must be processing and whatever's going on there, decoding, encoding, whatever it happens.
And I wonder if that's just something with YouTube.
It could be. I don't know.
Because I didn't notice it, because as you know, last board meeting, I came for the first time in person, but I brought my laptop in case it was a problem. And to see how Meeting Owl, there was no lag at all. That's quite impressive.
It works pretty well, right? We're going to use that tonight again. We're going to continue to use it. It's worked pretty well.
And I finally stopped calling it Night Owl.
Night Owl, yeah. It works, though.
Meeting Owl.
Meeting Owl. It's a pretty neat, it's a component you put on a table, and it's voice activated. So if you're speaking, it turns itself towards you, and it tries to pick up your voice, and then when I speak, it comes. So the main thing is to control the dialogue so you don't have 5 people speaking at once.
Right, it just keeps looking for
Yeah,
the first,
right. But it's a fairly low cost way that we've been able to improve the quality of people who got into the habit of streaming our meetings. And we're doing better at it all the time. We're looking for a way to mount it permanently from the ceiling so that it can be there and we can extend that resource to other committees that want to use it. But right now, we transport it back and forth.
Now, Bill, how are you doing your board meeting? Are you doing a hybrid or?
Nope. Is he off?
I think we might have lost him.
He needs a meeting owl, is what he needs. But so with us, it's getting back to the actual interviews in the backgrounds. It's a lot of work to do it, And when you're talking about 9 vacancies we've got to fill, this year, almost just under half of the patrol division has less than a year on.
Almost all?
Almost half.
Oh, half.
Almost
Okay.
half
I
of
missed
the,
that.
of the
Okay.
patrol division, not
Yeah,
the department.
yeah, right,
But the
right.
patrol division. Yeah, so you've got officers, I think the deputy chief mentioned it'll be close to 20. So our patrol division is 47 patrol officers. When we are getting above 20, almost half have less than a year and a half on. Keep that in mind. These are the officers responding to calls.
Right.
Our midnight shift, because it's seniority based, has very low seniority. Right? They're
they're all new.
These
newbies.
cops are less than 3 years. Most of them. So
A lot of pressure on the sergeant.
yeah, you're herding right. I mean, a lot of it is we put a tremendous amount of pressure on our field training officers. They do a great job to make sure that they're answering calls and knowing the streets, and because for someone who is not from this area, they've got to not only and new to law enforcement, they've got to learn how to be a cop and learn how to be a cop in Kingston. When you're able to pick up someone who was a local police officer, part-time or full-time somewhere else, the policing component, and as I mentioned, the 2 from Woodstock, those 2 officers were already cops. They know how to police. They know how to be community-minded police officers. And then you just have to essentially put them into a city environment. The streets, the stop signs, there's stop signs in every town. Nobody has more stop signs than the city of Kingston. Holy cow!
Yeah, I think
Every time I see another email going, we replaced the stoplights with stop signs. I'm like, holy cow!
I don't know where I was, but I got to an intersection and I stopped. All right, and because it seems like every intersection there's a stop sign.
Yeah.
And of course the car behind me blew their horn on the thing. I look around and I didn't see a stop sign, no car coming.
Yeah, no, it's a challenge. So we're very lucky. I mean, but there is an investment, and now you have someone who we hire, and now so we have two that we hired. One was the end of 20, and the other one, 20, and the other one was the beginning of 21. Both have left for the state police. Their police academy started in September, so now both of them are up there. So there's two more vacancies that we filled. Now we have to refill as well. That was part of the 9. So. And with the state police, it's a little bit different. Since they're a single jurisdiction, they're able to do it a little different. You take the written exam. Once you get scored or ranked, then they hold a processing weekend. And the first thing out of the gate that they do is physical fitness. Once you pass your physical fitness requirements, then they put you into, that's usually a Saturday. They do PT in the morning and then the paperwork processing in the afternoon, background packets and so on. And then Sunday, you sit for the psychological exam, which is 4 to 5 hours long. Then you get scheduled for a psychological review once your exam results come back. And we do the same thing. We have a written, and then a psychologist reviews them. Once you're done with that, then they set you up for a polygraph. And all the time that this is happening, once the processing weekend has gone past, there's a background investigator assigned to you. Police or a state trooper investigator is then doing background and interviewing neighborhoods and doing financials and doing everything, interviewing past relationships and, families and so on, making sure that you're a good moral character. Once that's done, about a month and a half before the state police are planning to start their academy, then they'll run a medical. And you'll go up there in the morning and you'll process, make sure everything's working the way it is, and get a uniform fitting, and then you wait that 3 or 4 weeks until the academy starts, and then from there it's a Monday through Friday academy. So, and theirs is 6 months long. It's 26 weeks, I believe it is. So, but they're up there right now, and Monday through Friday, weekends. I say weekends off, but they're. And I can speak because one of them is my son. He's up there, and the other one was John Wallace. He was our deputy chief. His daughter's up there, Kayla. And both of them are going through the academy, and there's a couple of other local individuals that are attending the state police academy as well. So, on Friday nights when he gets back, we have a family dinner. He can decompress, but he says it is an extremely difficult police academy. When he went through the local
kind of
one
designed to vet.
It is. Oh, very. They get very limited access to outside world. They get phone privileges, depending on how the class as a whole does. But he says the first 2 weeks was very regimented, and still to this day very regimented. You're standing at attention, walking down the hall, certain distance from the wall, and but he is. It's interesting. He says it's extremely professional. Everything they learn is extremely professional, as they should be. Right? That's what we're looking for in police officers. And the difference from our local academy is at the end of the day, he gets to go home at night. Here, you're up there Monday through Friday. So, but their graduation, hopefully, it looks like somebody was on the line. Bill must have. Maybe try calling back. So with our local academy, and we are starting another one in January, which is we consider the part-time school. It's a Monday through Thursday and an all-day Saturday program. And again, the same training that we do in our full-time, just in part-time hours. The Monday through Thursday is essentially 6 to 10 at night, and then Fridays all day 9 to 5. But that program, got it. He got it. You got it. Hung up? Yeah. I think we lost Bill.
We somehow lost Bill.
Back? I don't know. I told him to call myself.
So that's a little bit different, right? With the state police, they're essentially offering you employment right from that process and weekend, so they can do all this stuff later. And if you fail, you just get a letter saying thank you, but you're no longer being considered for the position, and that's the end of it. We don't in City of Kingston. We don't have that same method. If someone fails the polygraph it's not that simple because there's no fail. No, there's no checkbox that says failed or passed. A polygraph for a background investigation is difficult. If I'm investigating you for a burglary, right? You come down and say, yeah, I'll take the polygraph. I got nothing to hide, right? Hook me up. So you go there and you meet with they are talking to you about a specific event, and they're asking you questions about that event. On a background investigation, they're going to say, have you ever taken any property over the value of $50 in your adult life? Now, you're thinking, maybe I'm 25 years old, right? I'm thinking, wow, did I take anything, right? Oh, yeah, I took that sandwich. Oh, yeah, when I was working at the deli. And I think, and now and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I did take that thing off the store, but I can't really, that might, and now you're thinking about like all that stuff going on while you're hooked up, and the investigator, the polygraph examiner is looking, and they see it. The chart is, they can tell countermeasures. There's a lot of training that goes into being a polygraph examiner. So, and it says something's here. So the individual we use, the company we use, says that there's a significant response or no significant response during the polygraph. Those are the two standards. So when they say the individual had a significant response to the theft question or had a significant response to the whatever it might be, right? There's something. I can't tell you what it is, but there's something here, right? When I asked him specifically about a domestic violence incident that he had with his ex-wife, something hit here. And so we've had individuals be absolutely 100% truthful. No significant response detected, but admitted to crimes that possibly need to be investigated.
Disqualifying.
So, yeah, without a doubt, you're like, wow, holy cow, the guy's a thief, but he's an honest thief. He admitted to it, and so at that point, in some cases, wow. It's been a while, we've actually contacted the district attorney's office and said, you need to look at this. This guy might be responsible for some stuff. And yeah, that's what happens. So, we tell them all the time, if you lie on the polygraph, you're automatically disqualified. Now, that's where the issue is. We just can't send a letter that says you're no longer consideration. The problem with the civil service that we have it is because it's not a specific event, all we can say is had a significant response. And at that point, the offer of conditional employment is rescinded. Oh, we're done. They still doesn't remove them from consideration for the position. So we have to recanvass the list, and they have to say, I'm no longer interested. Now, what's interesting to me is we do a candidate, we had them in the past where they failed a polygraph. That's part of our background investigation. So now the town of A says, oh, I'm considering hiring this guy. We see you processed with Kingston but didn't get hired. Can you sign a release? Now, town of A gets this packet and it says significant response detected. We've actually had individuals pass the test, score high, do the PT, pass that, and when they sit down to fill out the packet and it says all responses are verified through polygraph, they'll say, oh, I'm done. Hand it back. And they'll look for an agency that doesn't have a polygraph because it's not required today. And it's expensive, right? You talk about the cost of doing background investigations. Polygraphs are $300 to $400, depending on the length of them. Medical exams, right? Those have to be done, but psychological testing, there's $100 in the written exam and then $300, $400, sometimes more than that, depending on how in-depth the doctor goes into. So
you see, when we were off the air, I think we were off the air during the break, that's what I was alluding to with state policy, not so much with your decertification. Because here, you look at this, if somebody lies on a polygraph in the city of Kingston police, okay, and then goes to some small community up in the North Country, and that individual is a bad egg, and a scenario occurs, such as occurred out in Minnesota or other places that we constantly hear about, then you really have to question, okay, yeah, polygraph is expensive, but how do you put a price on someone's life from being that life being taken by a bad cop.
So,
and that's where I think I strongly feel there should be some tightening up with state policy where an individual cannot lie, cannot fail a polygraph in one part of the state, go to another part of the state, and then become a police officer.
So there's some of that has changed. So as of October, and I don't have the exact date, I think it was the 16th, there is a Professional Policing Act that is causing change now. As I mentioned before psychological wasn't required. Now it's required. Every agency has to do a psychological. So, and it has to be reviewed by a New York State clinically certified psychiatrist, psychologist, and so that has to be done. But polygraph still isn't mandated. I think we're going to get there. I really do believe that. I believe we're going to get there. The problem is smaller agencies at $350 a pop, it gets expensive. There has to be, I'm an advocate for setting up either regional or somehow state provided, like they do with the written exam. The city of Kingston may hold a written exam, but it's not city of Kingston's exam. It's the state exam. So there should be, in my opinion, I don't know how they'll do it, statewide processing, right? I want to be a cop in New York, maybe Saugerties, maybe Kingston, maybe Woodstock, but I'm going to take the test, I'm going to do the physical fitness, and I'm going to check off the jurisdictions I want to work. I want to work in Ulster County. I don't want to work in the North Country. I want to work here. So when I go through the written exam, the psychological exam, the PT, all of it, then my results can apply to these jurisdictions. And I'll be ranked, right? In some places, there's always testing. I think Connecticut might be one of them, where there's always, every year there's a new test. And every year you get a chance to improve your score. So this time I got an 85, I wasn't picked up anywhere. Maybe next time I'll get a 90 and I'll move up a little bit higher. So
but that's an option to take that, right? Or is it mandated?
No, it's an option. I believe so. I believe. I don't know. Deputy Chief Mike Bonds is just attended a program, as I believe most of the chiefs or deputy chiefs or lieutenants or captains went to attend. And there was a lot of this explained on how this is changing. But in order to, if we are going to be considered by everyone to be a professional career path, then we have to have the standards across the board so that a cop in Kingston has the same hiring standards, the same process that a cop in the North Country has got. But that's difficult.
I'm thinking, we always talk about the state police on the show because they're the largest agency, but New York City police dwarfs them.
Unbelievable. 35,000 cops, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You had 900 people in an academy. 2 shifts. I remember my son-in-law's father. He's a retired lieutenant. I'm telling you, outstanding guy. This guy is unbelievable. Like, level-headed and just solid, right? Seen it all. And I tell him all the time, I cannot imagine the things that you've endured in your career down there. And he says, yeah, we just don't talk about it. Like it's just like, it is what it is. He says, his academy, way back, they ran 2 shifts. There were 2 academies running, like he was on the afternoon shift academy, but they were running 2, 900 in each class just to get the numbers up. So you're talking about graduation of 1,800 recruits. There were 2 separate graduates. It was amazing to me. Now they have that new training facility down there, and it boggles the mind, right? When they're, like the state police run a class of 250 at a time. They start with 250, and they might graduate 240, or there's always people that don't make the standard, right? The academic part of it. And they tell you during orientation that it is a high-level college educational academic standard that you have to meet. And they have a standard to get in college, 60 college credits and so on. So there's military bearing discipline. Once you get in there, the heat and the pressure are on. They don't step off the gas at any point. Like they're on it, and so which is what you want, right? But when you think about the state police and you look at the professionalism they represent, and they have that ability. And there are a lot of jurisdictions out in New York State that do that. But as a chief, as an administrator, I am concerned that we have individuals that we've processed that have not been forthcoming on the polygraph alone or the psychological. We've had issues where we've rescinded employment because of the psychological and went, ooh, boy. On their face, you'd say, boy, this candidate looked okay. Like he came in, he was okay, and she was fine. And all of a sudden you get the psych results, you're like, whoa. what is going on, right? And then the psychiatrist looks at it and says, when he calls me directly and says, can I talk to you? Like, where is this person right now? That type of thing. And I'm just like shaking. I just shake my head. I don't understand. And then you find out that they're picked up somewhere else. And you're like, how did that happen? Just the fact that that agency didn't contact us for the background packet that we assembled, that we have, and said, here, right? They have to sign a release, obviously, but yeah, it's amazing to me because at that point, that chief or administrator looks at it and says, whoa, wait a minute. It says right here, do not hire, right? And then even if they say, wow, he's a local guy, I want to hire her, she's fine, then at least you have something to talk about, right? Hey, listen, you had an issue with the polygraph in Kingston. What happened here? I'll give you another chance, but you better pass it this time, right? Instead of saying, oh, I like him. He lives in my town. He works in the thing. I worked at the deli. He made me sandwiches, And does that still happen? I hope it doesn't, but it might, depending on where you are. Like I said, I think for us as a profession, we need to increase our standards for hiring so that you're not going to hire the same. Because you could hire in that same meeting a 20-year-old kid. I say a kid. I apologize. I don't mean to. But a 20-year-old adult and a 29-year-old. A 29-year-old might have 4 kids, married, mortgage, right? A whole different perspective on life than this 20-year-old whose mom is still doing laundry, right? So not to take that away from the fact that they are going to be good cops, but they bring a different perspective. They show up to a call of a domestic where a husband and wife have been fighting for 15 years, right? They're now arguing over finances because the kid's got to go to school, and you got a 20-year-old cop, a year out of the academy, trying to diffuse the situation without having the life experience to do it. Doesn't mean they can't do the job, right? And we try to cover as much of this, both realistically training them and educational, academically in the academy, but it's different. It's different. Very hard.
Difficult, expensive, and I think even for you, comparatively a small agency, even though in the county you're amongst the larger, but the cost of this is expensive.
It's very expensive.
And to do it correctly is expensive. Yes. So the smaller the community that's hosting a police department, the more burdensome those costs become. But, it is I like your perspective. You said 25-year investment. I think that's right on. And once you're a police officer, the liability, And officers that might get hurt in the line of duty, the burden of that is difficult too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got
the former deputy chief used to tell me, he goes, I don't know how you sleep at night knowing there's 73 other individuals out there running around with guns. Yeah. I'm like, and you're responsible for every one of them.
Yep. Unfortunately, Chief Tinty, we are out of time. That hour always flies by, and some nice, good dialogue today. Glad Supervisor McKenna did call in for a little bit, and we'll see you back here next month.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Have a nice Thanksgiving, and we'll be back in a few.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
This is Greg Chorvis, and once again, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund is asking you to help the needy this holiday season. For the last 50 years, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund has helped less fortunate families have a happier holiday. Look for our collection boxes at the local branches of the Ulster Federal Credit Union, Rondout Savings Bank, the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, Ulster Savings Bank, and at the Kiwanis Ice Arena in Sorges. Thank you very much, and have a happy and Merry Christmas.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, viewers and listeners who have been with us this morning. Those just joining us for the last half hour, welcome. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We've got Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Saugerties, in the studio alongside of me, and I believe we have our Senator Michelle Hinchy, on virtually. Good morning, Senator.
Hey there, how you doing?
We are doing. How are you doing?
I am doing well. How's happy to be here with you. Wish I could be with you in person.
Well, possibly, maybe things work out next month.
Yes, definitely. I would be there today, except I'm coming towards the end of my quarantine. So next month we should be good to go. And how are you feeling? Feeling good, really happy. I mean, this is, having, I've already been really promoting the vaccine and believe that everybody should get vaccinated. This has really been also an eye-opening experience for me on just how incredible vaccines truly are. To be an adult, to be sick, for a week or to have symptoms, knowing that the vaccine made it so much better than how much worse it could have been had I not been vaccinated is reason enough really for, I think, everyone to go out there and get it. COVID is still here. I don't think it's going anywhere. This is going to be something that we, I think, have to live with, similar to the flu, although it is much more severe than the flu. But if you get vaccinated, it just becomes something like the flu, right, that you can kind of overcome and get through it. And so it's so important, especially going into this winter season, to be vaccinated. And if you are vaccinated, to get the booster.
And I'm glad to hear you. I'm glad to hear you say that, because am aware. I've come in individuals who have tested positive, had the vaccine, and their symptoms were extremely mild. In 2 cases, an individual, just as a safety precaution, got tested. One, because they were going to be traveling with their mom. Another case had come in contact with several people who had tested positive, and they had no symptoms at all, and tested positive, and didn't have any symptoms throughout their 10-day isolation. So it's obvious, the writing's on the wall. The vaccines do make a tremendous difference. And I agree with you. I don't think COVID's going away, just like the flu isn't going away. And I think vaccinations are going to play a important, critical role as we move forward.
They are.
It's true, for me, and sorry, Fred, but because I do want to hear your experience, but I'll say for me, I genuinely just thought I was run down, from the election and then a number of events and things like that. I just thought that I was run down. I was tired, and I was starting to get a little bit of a head cold, very normal for this time of year, changing season. And after a couple days, when it was still there, I was actually supposed to go to a NEDPA conference, a Northeast Dairy Producers Conference. And before going, I thought to myself, I should get tested just really out of an abundance of caution before I go. I have a cough. I don't want anyone to be concerned. I think it's just a head cold from run down, but I want to go make sure. And, I went to the rapid test site in Rosendale, and lo and behold, that test came back positive. So and then after that, I got a PCR test. Went home, went to get a PCR test, went home, quarantined, and waited for the PCR results just to triple confirm or double confirm, I should say. And I'm so happy that I did, right? Because I would have very unknowingly exposed people thinking that I just had a seasonal cold. And I'm again really, really happy that I got tested. And I think everybody, you know, we're working. Testing is around, right? You can get testing at all of the drugstores. There's the Westchester Medical Center in Kingston, the Rosendale testing site. I'm actually working through this. Excuse me, I still have a bit of my cough. Through this experience, you know, I also realized for a while testing, especially rapid tests, were really easy to get. It's become harder because so many people are getting tested. Thankfully, there's fewer rapid tests, which we need to make easier. We need to make it free, and we need to make it easier. So through this experience, I've been working with the governor's office to figure out how we can get more tests around to our communities. But even so, with that, if you're feeling any, I would just say as a PSA to anyone feeling any kinds of cold symptoms to get tested, because you may not know, like me, I didn't think it because I was vaccinated. You know, I was taking all the right precautions. I've been wearing my mask pretty regularly. I've been with vaccinated people almost exclusively. You know, I've been trying to be very on the ball. But as you said, Greg, you know, people, especially who are vaccinated, may not have symptoms. We're not going, and it seems like the cold, we're not going to be able to trace this back in the way that we could in the beginning. So at any sign of a cold, I would say just get tested. I did, and I'm really glad I did.
That's very good advice, yes, and I agree with that. It's better to be more proactive, better to be safe than sorry, and in your case here, you were going to a conference, I believe you said, and I'm sure there would have been hundreds of people. You would have been in close proximity with people indoors, and it was very, very proactive on your part, obviously.
Thank you. Yeah, it felt very important to do, right? Making sure that we're not exposing people even with accidentally, you know, if you think you have it. So we're working to get more tests out there. And the PCR, of course, is the most accurate. And, you know, it's just something I think we're going to have to kind of deal with a little bit. But, you know, I've been quarantining, and, you know, I have to say shout out to, I know we probably wouldn't want to, but shout out to Bob Circasano from Sawyer Motors and Village Pizza. They delivered me some food, which was delicious and a bright spot in not being able to leave the house. So, you know, our Saugerties community is really incredible, and I just want to say a big thank you to them publicly.
Oh, they're the best. They're just the best. So your experience with being vaccinated and having a breakthrough is, I have folks that I'm close to, and one spouse was not vaccinated and the other one was, and their experiences were dramatically different. The one spouse recovered fairly quickly, mild symptoms for the whole time. The other one ended up needing a little bit of medical care to help get through it. They both resolved and do not appear to have any lingering effects, but the evidence that I took from their experience was that the vaccine absolutely made a difference in their ability to recover and minimize the symptoms of the infection.
Absolutely. You know, as I said, even from when I just thought I had a head cold and was run down. You know, a long time ago, a story for another day, I injured my vocal cords. And so when I'm run down or a little dehydrated, I get a cough just because my vocal cords kind of tweak a little bit. So I thought that's what was happening, right? All of the symptoms that I had could have been other things. And even from then, when I tested positive through the next week quarantine, it really has not, the symptoms have been incredibly mild. You know, I've been tired and lethargic, but the cough is, you've even heard on this interview now, I still have a little bit, but it hasn't been much worse than that.
Did you have
a little bit of a head cold, but all normal things where I know, and Freddie, you know, and so many others know how bad when COVID is hitting you unvaccinated, how bad those symptoms are. We've seen it. We've seen the hospitalizations. We've heard the stories. And really, this was quite manageable, and it is solely thanks to having the vaccine.
Besides being tired and the cough, did you have a fever?
I might have had a fever one night, but it was not bad. You know, and it only lasted maybe a couple hours in the evening. I've been a little achy, a little uncomfortable, but not bad at all. Also kind of similar to if I just needed to do a couple extra stretches, you know. And really the head cold has been the worst, which is more common now with the Delta variant. I've been told too. It was less there was head cold-like symptoms originally, but now it really can manifest kind of like a full head cold. And I did have some of those symptoms, but again, nothing a little Sudafed and rest.
Perfect.
That's good to hear. That's
Way
very
to
good to hear.
get a break, but sometimes our bodies just need it, and you have to take the time when you don't feel well.
Yep. And again, it's being really tired too, right? And that's how I one of the clear symptoms of COVID. I mean, every day this week at 4:00, I can't keep my eyes open. I'm really tired, and so I took a nap for an hour and a half because that's what you have to do when you have COVID, right? Is rest and drink a lot of water.
Yep, stay hydrated.
But even that's been getting a lot better through the week. But zinc, I'm told zinc and hydrating and vitamin C, top 3 things you can do.
So another interesting conversation I was able to share with someone who helped set up the Javits Center, but they're a local doctor. And in my conversation with this person, they were very clear during the spike in the Delta variant, even locally. My concern at the moment was, are we going to go back into some levels of lockdown? And he was pretty matter of fact and said no. And he said the vaccine is successful. When we were experiencing infection rates like we experienced during the second wave of Delta, during the first wave, the original COVID, the hospitals and the medical system was overrun. But because a high percentage of New Yorkers were vaccinated, we never exhausted our medical capacity. And he said that's the point of it. And, people are misunderstanding. It's not that we won't get sick if we're vaccinated, but we won't get sick in a way that will overwhelm our medical resources like we did during the first round of COVID. So, with all the dialogue that's happening over the vaccines, the evidence of its success is all around us. And, I haven't gotten my 3rd dose yet, but I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yep, I think that's exactly right. And Fred, I think that's a really important point. There's a lot of misinformation about even myself, right? I'm fully vaccinated. I still need to get the booster shot. I'm excited to get that when I get my flu shot. You can get them together. But even with me, the kind of misinformation, the misunderstanding that just because you have a breakthrough case, it means the vaccine doesn't work. Why should we get it, right? The vaccines are not supposed to completely say that you will never get sick. The flu shot, when you get the flu shot, you can still get sick, right? But it feels like a cold as opposed to feeling like a severe flu. This is the exact same thing. As long as you have the vaccine, yes, you can still get and transmit COVID, but way lower possibility of that. You're protected from it. And if you do get a breakthrough case, it's much more manageable. You won't overrun the medical resources. You most likely won't have to be hospitalized. You can stay home in a safer capacity, and you'll get better a lot faster.
Yes.
This has been the inside of a week, where COVID has been known to last weeks, sometimes months for people. On the inside of a week, I feel much, much, much better, right? And again, feel like I could operate very normally, just a little bit tired, as we all are sometimes, right?
Yep.
That's what the vaccine does.
That's exactly
right? And it also makes it harder to transmit. So vaccinated to vaccinated person is harder to transmit than unvaccinated to vaccinated or vaccinated to unvaccinated. That's much harder. And I'll say for me, it is easier to get a breakthrough case when you are run down. So it's important that everyone is really paying attention to how they feel. Get the sleep when you can. Rest, stay home. It's the wintertime. It's cold. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Take your vitamins, because it is easier to get COVID, to get a breakthrough case, to get COVID generally if you are run down. But that's what the vaccine helps protect the severity of the case, and it is 100% doing that.
And the mortality rates amongst people who are vaccinated are significantly better than mortality rates of people who get the infection that are not vaccinated. There was 130,000 deaths in the second wave with the Delta variant, and the folks that passed, the percentage of them who was unvaccinated was extraordinarily high. Once again, pointing to the benefit that we get by being vaccinated.
Absolutely. And that works out even higher with the booster shot.
Yep.
Too. So I think we're opening. I know New York City just opened to have every adult now eligible for the booster. I think we're getting there, as I know the FDA is working on it. I think we're getting there too. So, if you're eligible now, I encourage everyone, again, when you're getting the flu shot, to get the booster shot at the same time. I know for me, I always feel it when I got the flu shot last year. I had a day where I felt like I had the flu. That's just the vaccine working, kind of working its way through your symptoms. So I plan on getting the booster and the vaccine together so that I only have one day of, the side effects afterwards. But really important to do because it'll make sure that one day is much better than 10 days.
Been thinking about my own experience because my 1 year anniversary of being sick is coming up. And maybe I'll get my booster shot right on that day. Kind of be a
there
good
you
way
go.
to celebrate it. But
Well, don't
a
do
lot
it.
has happened in 12 months, though.
Don't do it on a Tuesday because you won't be here on a Wednesday. with the reactions you have to shots.
Yeah. But it's amazing. But we've had an interesting couple of years with this, and the past 12 months has been a point of significant change. The vaccine last year at this time was not available, and it took a few more months till we got into the very late winter, early spring, where a vaccine was starting to be available to residents, and right now there's plenty of it, which, at the beginning there was categories of people who were eligible. I think there was a declaration the other day making everyone eligible. So if you're waiting, there's no reason. Go out there, get it. There's plenty of vaccine available. At the beginning, we were all sensitive to people who had pre-existing health issues or age or other factors that might have made them more eligible than other folks. But that's not the case right now. If you have not gotten it, there's plenty of opportunity. Go out there and do it.
Exactly right. Lots of vaccines available, very easy to get, and it's definitely worth it. I actually regret not having my booster yet. I'm eligible because I have a very public-facing job. I interface, obviously, with a lot of different people, and it's been on my list, but because I knew I would probably have a day reaction, and we've been taking the precautions. I just haven't really made the time to do it. I regret not having the booster. And I'm excited, now I'll have the antibodies for a little bit, but I'm excited to get the booster when I'm able to, because it will. I think if I had the booster, I probably wouldn't have contracted. I don't know. You can't look back. I may still have, no idea, but I do know that I would have been even more protected because I got my vaccine in April of earlier this year, and so I'm now at that time where that booster would kind of help boost up the antibodies, and so I wish that I had it, and anyone thinking about getting it or eligible to get it, I would definitely encourage. So you're not doing the what if question should you find up here.
And I believe it's very, very easy. I think you can walk in without an appointment to CVS, Walgreens, even the one that the county is doing. I think they encourage appointments at the old Best Buy, right? On Wednesdays and Friday afternoons?
Yes, that is right. And they're also doing vaccines for children who are eligible now. I know a lot of my friends' kids who have gotten vaccinated. It's been a great experience. There was a magician at the COVID County Best Buy site, the vaccination site. So they're doing really incredible things to make it a memorable and really enjoyable experience. And so many kids are now eligible, and they've all had a good experience with it and are happy to know that them and their parents are happy to know that they're now safe.
This is a relevant conversation to have. The weather's changing. We're going indoors. The air's drier. The virus survives better in dry air. It's that time of year where we're going to be with friends and family. And our opportunities for exposure are going up. And you can see some evidence of that in the parts of the country where it's starting to spike again, are the areas that are a couple weeks ahead of us in weather. It's cold already. Michigan's a hot spot right now. They've had a little bout with cold weather. People were forced indoors. They're sharing air, and that's you get a cold, the flu, and possibly COVID.
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, we're seeing our cases really spike all over the place because it is that time, right? It is
Mhm.
coming into the holidays and the weather is changing. So, I'm happy to be having this conversation, and hopefully some people who are listening can hear it and recognize that, the vaccine is important. It really does work. It changes your experience with it. It keeps you protected. It keeps your family protected. It keeps your kids and your neighbors protected in a much better way than just chancing it.
Yeah. So one, I get curious on strange things sometimes, and one of the things that I kind of delved into during COVID was the history of vaccines. And vaccines have been extraordinarily instrumental in our country's military successes. Our fighting force is one of the best vaccinated in the world, and our military has planned for deployments in all different parts of the world, and they've developed vaccines to all kinds of local things that, growing up here, we might not have been exposed to. And one of the stories I read that I thought was really interesting was during the Revolutionary War, primitive medicine would take bodily fluids from folks that had survived smallpox and share those fluids with people who had not had it yet. And they developed a primitive vaccine to smallpox during the Revolutionary War. So in Valley Forge, there was a whole bunch of American soldiers that were able to survive the smallpox epidemic, even though they were freezing to death. But the British forces did not have that protection, and was one of the advantages that we had during that conflict. And those stories are kind of true for most of the overseas battles that we've undertaken. But it was really curious, and it kind of goes undersaid. I'm sorry to steal your time. Another story I thought was interesting during the Spanish flu. The Dodge brothers both got sick and passed, and Walter Chrysler was developing his company at the time. He had left General Motors, and because the Dodge company had lost its leadership, he was able to basically buy them for a very small price and make Chrysler Dodge, which is one still of the big three in the U.S. But the changes that occurred because of the illness that the Dodge brothers suffered was part of why that organization became successful. So it was like all these curious stories that were popping up, and once you look at one, Google shares a whole bunch more, and it was pretty interesting reads.
That's real. I did not know either one of those stories. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I thought it was. I got right down the rabbit hole. I'm like, geez, I'm going to be late for my next appointment because I'm reading this, but I couldn't put it down. So
that's really interesting. And one thing I want to say on the military piece, which is a little bit unrelated, though we just Veterans Day just passed on the 11th, and we held a Veterans Resource Fair in Cairo yesterday, which was really successful. We had a lot of different organizations, everyone from the Hudson Valley Center for Veteran Reintegration to the Ulster County Veteran Service Agency to the local Legion to Central Hudson, come together to offer resources for veterans. We are doing the same kind of fair in Saugerties on December 9th, Thursday, December 9th. We'll be sharing all the details on our social media. We haven't announced, this is me announcing it for the first time since we just wrapped our Greene County one. We'll be doing one in Altamont also, but we'll be having a Veterans Resource Fair in Saugerties in December. So we'll get all you guys the information. But if you know a veteran or family members of veterans, come on down to the Senior Center on December 9th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We'll have a bunch of different vendors there talking about ways that you can get money off of your Central Hudson bill if you're a veteran, different kinds of services that are available, job opportunities, et cetera. We really want to make sure that we're bringing people together, especially going into the colder months and the holiday season, and we're supporting our veterans across the county and across the district.
Great. I'm glad you're doing that, and we'll do our best to get that out on our social
have your office send us the details, and we'd be happy here to announce it on the radio show, and so will the other host the other days of the week.
Wonderful. We will definitely we'll send that over. We're finalizing a bunch of our vendors. Again, we had a really successful one yesterday, so we imagine that the ones that we're doing in Altamont and Fogarty's will be the same. It was really great to see people able to be there, be together, and also get the services and get all the information that they need all in one place, which is really important, especially in a time of the pandemic when people haven't been able to get out and go to, maybe some of the appointments that they have, or some of the agencies have been closed for a long time. To bring everything under one roof into one place, a one-stop shop, we thought would be a helpful service.
Yeah, that would be great. And, many times there's benefits out there that folks aren't aware of. And the more platforms we can provide to make people aware of those, I think the better chance we have of being successful, making those connections. So, great.
Wonderful. But back to on the vaccine point, too, I think there's, Fred, what you were saying, too, the history of vaccines in our country and in the world is really important. We've eradicated so many diseases, not because of herd immunity, but because of the vaccine, right? And so knowing that the COVID vaccine has been worked on for decades, this is not something that just got created overnight, although it feels like that to us because we don't know the science that's happening behind the scenes in labs across the country. Thankfully, we can focus on our own lives. Other people are doing that and thinking about the next challenge. But this is a vaccine that has been being worked on for years. And so that while it feels like it came pretty quickly, it's been tested and been around for a long time. So it's just now that it's the first time we've really needed it.
There's hundreds of millions of folks that have been vaccinated, and there's been very, very few incidents of people having adverse reactions that were deadly or challenging. So it's a lot of data we can rely upon. All right, we're out of time.
Yeah, unfortunately, Senator Michelle Hinchy, we are out of time. That half hour just flew by. It's so great to have you joining us, even though it's virtually. Hopefully next month you'll be right here in the studio. So again, thank you for taking the time to join us here this morning. Thank you, Supervisor Fred Costello. Thank you, Lawrence Maxwell. Most importantly in all, thank you, listeners and viewers.
And real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you. We had about almost 70,000 pledged for the Happy Christmas Fund. I was just talking with my mother in the other office. We've only got about 42,000 collected so far.
Okay,
so if you have pledged money to the Happy Christmas Fund, please send it in. We need it. We have to buy the cards next week. We have to start getting the money to the families. And that's why I've been in the other room. I've been typing addresses and getting the envelopes ready. So next week we have to buy the cards. If you did make a pledge, please try to get it in as soon as possible, so we can get everything rolling.
Yeah, by all means, very good point, and I completely forgot to mention that today.
No worries.
Okay,
no worries
and listeners and viewers, thank you very much. We'll be back here same time, same place next Wednesday.
Take care, everyone.